A lot of you have been calling out and asking the mayor a simple question. When will you debate Brian Rose? All I want to do is talk about the facts. I am very critical of the mayor's failure when it comes to tackling knife crime, his failure when it comes to building affordable housing, his failure when it comes to getting our economy back on track, his failure to keep our transport system out of bankruptcy. I'm very clear about that, but the data speaks for itself. And if he wants to debate this, let's let the voters decide. Let's give you both options. The truth is, I am the only person who can beat Sadiq Khan at this point. I know how to get businesses back to work, and it takes innovation. It takes new ideas. It takes solving problems. The current mayor avoids discussions and consultations at all stages. He's unelected. He's unaccountable, and he is avoiding scrutiny. You don't need me in the back of a bus streaming live to you to point out the mayor doesn't care about Londoners. Everyone can see it in his actions. He's above us. He's worried about his next job that he wants to get as prime minister. This is just a stepping stone in his long political career, and we are all paying the price for it. And that's the reason I decided to put my business on hold and my personal life on hold, my family on hold, to be your next mayor of London, because I can't sit by and watch this current crop of politicians run the city I love, London, into the ground.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to the Brian for Mayor Digital Battle Bus. Welcome to Battle Bus Live. I am Brian Rose, and we are live here on the Digital Battle Bus, touring the boroughs of Barnet, of Enfield, of Haringey, and Harrow. We are super excited to be here. I just went right up through Wood Green, right by where my good friend Sully Breaks lives. He's a old guest of the show. He's interviewed me many times on London Real. We're not going into Enfield. We're super excited to get out to every single borough in London. That's what we're doing here with the Digital Battle Bus in a COVID secure manner. I'm live, and I'm looking for your comments on all of the platforms you're watching this. So wherever you're at, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, leave me a comment below. I'm literally going to read them out live so I can answer your questions. The truth is this. Every borough in London has its unique challenges, and it's important for me as your next mayor of London to get out here on the streets and look at the problems you're facing, and for us to come up for solutions together to those problems. Today, I'm going to be talking about some very serious issues that Barnet is facing, Enfield, Haringey, and Harrow, and a lot of other boroughs in London are facing that the mayor's just not addressing. And so we need to talk about these things, and we're going to talk real today. Like I said, leave me your comments, share this video with someone who needs it, share this video with a friend of yours who still doesn't know what's happening here, because on May 6th, we plan on becoming the next mayor of London, and we're super excited here. So again, we are coming through some incredible boroughs here. First of all, Barnet, what a great borough. It's the home of Hampstead Heath, and Hampstead Heath is a huge ancient green area covering 320 hectares. It's one of the highest points in London. It goes from Hampstead to Highgate. It's a place that I go every single weekend. I run the Heath on Saturdays. I jump into the freezing men's pond every Saturday. I do backflips in there. You might have seen that. I actually train for my Ironman race in the Hampstead Heath. It's beautiful. It's home to Ken Woodhouse as well. So thank you, Barnet, for that incredible contribution. It's also the home to the Royal Air Force Museum. This is at Hendon Aerodrome, and it showcases the history of British aviation and the Royal Air Force. I actually took my aunt and uncle from Arizona there with my daughter Gabby many, many years ago. It's an incredible place. So thank you so much, Barnet. Now we're heading into Enfield, and Enfield is the home of the Lee Valley Whitewater Center. It's a 31 million pound whitewater slalom center. This was constructed specifically for the 2012 London Olympics, and it's still being used today, which is incredible. And Enfield is also the home to the Edenites, which is a rock and hip hop band that I had on back in the day at London Real. They had a great hit song called Welcome to London. And like I said, they were early guests and early friends, and I just want to give those guys a shout out as well. Next, we're going to be going into Harrow, and Harrow is probably world known or world renowned for the Harrow School, which is an independent boarding school for boys founded in 1572 and considered to be one of the finest secondary schools in the world. So a big shout out to Harrow. And finally, going through Haringey, which is the home of Alexander Palace, also known as the Alley Pally, and it's a grade 2 listed entertainment and sports venue. It's also situated between Wood Green and Muswell Hill. They got a mean ice rink up there. I've taken my daughter Gabby, and they have some incredible grime shows with some incredible artists over the years. So again, thank you so much, Haringey. You bring a lot to this city, and we appreciate all of you. Today, I want to talk about some serious local issues that these boroughs are facing and many boroughs are facing in London. And the first thing I want to talk to you about in depth is the fact that I believe we have another fire tragedy waiting to happen. And right now, there's 150 buildings in London that are still wrapped in the same flammable cladding that caused the Grenfell tragedy nearly 4 years ago. I remember it very well. I was actually in Paris at the time interviewing Wyclef Jean of the Fugees for my show London Real, and I remember we were coming back in the train and we saw this just terrible tragedy. I drove by the Grenfell building 2 days ago when we were on our way out to Hounslow to do a charity drop, and it's a real tragedy. I've spoken in depth about this with the hip-hop artist Low Key, who actually lives right next to Grenfell, who suffered from some of the toxic fumes and pollution that came from that fire that night, and who's been a really strong activist against what happened there and trying to get some accountability and some change to happen. So I want to talk about that in a serious manner today. I also want to talk about something called Street Space, which is the mayor's COVID pop-up cycling and walking scheme that he cooked up and pushed through during the pandemic. A recent high court ruling was against the mayor, and it called what he did unlawful, saying, quote, Sadiq Khan took advantage of the pandemic to push through these radical changes. They're talking about Street Space, and I want to talk about those issues with you today. So again, leave me your comments below. Tell me what borough you're in, what challenge you're facing, and what question you have for me. I want to talk about some detailed questions, and I'll be reading them out today. I want to just welcome you to the Digital Battle Bus, and this really isn't a bus. This is actually a mobile broadcasting studio. And you can see that I'm back here in multi-cameras. We can stream out to 1 billion people in the world right now, everything that we're talking about. And I can get into every single borough. I can literally see the churches I'm going by. I can see boarded up pubs. I can see tube stations that are being unused. And I know what's going on in these boroughs because I'm here on the ground. I'm also willing to be transparent with you and answer any question you want to ask me right now. This is the new era of politics, in my opinion, where we are transparent. I have built these media channels over the past 10 years. I've got 5 million viewers and subscribers. I've got 500 million views on my platforms, and it's so we can have these conversations, and we're going to have them today. But unfortunately, about 10 days ago, all of this was attempted to be shut down, and I was actually in the borough of Southwark. I was walking down the middle of the street with a Brian for Mayor umbrella in one hand and my iPhone in the other hand, talking to you on video. It's how I record my videos, and alone in the middle of the street, and suddenly I was surrounded by 10 City of London police officers. They arrived in 5 police vans. Needless to say, I was quite surprised, and they proceeded to detain me, fine me and 4 of my crew, and banned me from campaigning to be your next mayor of London. We thought there's something wrong with this. This doesn't feel like democracy. We believe in free and fair elections, and we think they should take place on May 6th, and the only way to do that is to make sure you have a choice when it comes to candidates. If you think about it, the current mayor of London has been unelected for the past 1 year. You never elected him to be in power in 2021. His term expired in May of last year. And so for them to try to not allow other voices to come out there and campaign, we thought was fundamentally wrong, which is why I sat down with my legal team only hours of later and cooked up this 5-page letter, which I sent to the police commissioners. It went out to Dame Cressida Dick, to Commissioner Ian Dyson, and Chief Constable Paul Crowther. They've all replied, acknowledging that they received the letter. Again, we are following the letter of the law and campaigning in a 100% COVID secure manner. And that's why we decided to continue campaigning. It hasn't been easy. On Tuesday of last week, this bus was pulled over by the Metropolitan Police. That's different than the City of London Police. So this is a coordinated attack that we believe is political somehow. We think that the current political organizations don't want our voice out there, and they don't want to give you a choice. And that's why every single day we are risking arrests. We are risking this bus being impounded so we can come out and give you an option on May 6th to choose your next leader. And you have to ask yourself, do you want 3 more years of this? I don't think you do, and you should have a choice. And we encourage all parties to find a safe way to campaign, and that could be Labour, Conservatives, Lib Dems, Greens, whoever. find a way to campaign, and we are moving forward. Again, this bus is 100% COVID safe. It's sprayed with an antiviral fog every night. Everyone entering it is temperature checked, wearing face masks, hand sanitizer is used. These are the same protocols that are being used in London right now to film television series and movies as well. So we are following those to the letter of the law, which is probably why we've been followed by police, but we have not been pulled over now in about 8 days. So it could happen right now live, but I'm hoping it doesn't, because I want to talk about some important topics today. So again, last thing I want to say, a lot of you have been calling out and asking the mayor a simple question. When will you debate Brian Rose? And it's one that so far he's ignored. He's had about 5 days to respond. And I said, Mr. Mayor, I will debate you anywhere, anyhow, anytime. And he hasn't yet responded. He can come to London Real Studios and we can broadcast it. We can do it on Zoom. We can do it on the mainstream media channel of his choice. All I want to do is talk about the facts. I am very critical of the mayor's failure when it comes to tackling knife crime, his failure when it comes to building affordable housing, his failure when it comes to getting our economy back on track, his failure to keep our transport system out of bankruptcy. I'm very clear about that, but the data speaks for itself. And if he wants to debate this in an open manner, I welcome it. Let's let the voters decide. Let's give you both options. The truth is, I am the only person who can beat Sadiq Khan at this point. So let's debate the two of us and let's the voters decide. Let's allow the democratic process to happen. If you want to find out what the status of that is, go on his social medias and say, Mr. Mayor, when will you debate Brian Rose? If you can do that, that would help us advance this, because I'm still waiting for an answer. So let's talk about some very serious issues that I want to talk about today. First of all, I want to hear from you. Again, all of your comments are coming directly to this iPad. I'm going to read them out. I've never read these questions before, and this is how transparent I am as your next mayor of London. The first question I want you to answer is, what borough do you live in? What is your biggest challenge, and what question would you like me to ask when I visit you? You can also submit your questions on my website, brianformayor.london/bus. There's a form. You can also volunteer. You can also download and print out our posters, etc. Second question I want you to answer, are you frustrated with the mayor's street space scheme? It's very hard to say that one. Are you also frustrated with low traffic neighborhoods, something we spoke about yesterday at length? And do you believe the mayor of London is out of touch with the citizens of this city? Answer that question for me now. Thirdly, are you frustrated with the lack of progress in removing flammable cladding from 150 buildings in London? This is the same material that was responsible for the Grenfell tragedy. Leave me your comment. And finally, do you think that free and fair elections should be allowed to take place on May 6th? And do you think we need a new direction? Do you think we need an independent vision? Do you think London needs new leadership? Leave me your comments below, and I'm going to go to them very shortly. Let me talk about some of the issues that the boroughs are facing that I'm in right now here on the ground. Barnet. Barnet is now struggling. The unemployment rate in Barnet could hit 10% this year, according to an article that was released yesterday, which would equate to 30,000 people unemployed in the borough of Barnet. It's really unacceptable. It's one of the reasons my Get London Back to Work policy is my main policy, and it's so important. But Barnet has other struggles as well. Recently, 1,000 signatures for a, quote, no building on Barnet Parks petition. It urged the council to scrap plans to restrict access and reduce space at any Barnet parks by building solar panel farms, expanding substations, or building electricity storage units on our green spaces. The people of Barnet have spoken. They believe that you've got to leave those green spaces to do what they do best and allow a green experience for the citizens and not to build on those. And we support the citizens of Barnet in those aims. Next, let's talk about Enfield. There has been a call to remove Enfield's low traffic neighborhoods that's just been rejected. And 2 large traffic reduction schemes will now remain in place despite claims that they are causing major problems for residents, and I quote, roads are now too dangerous to cross and people are less inclined to walk. The increased pollution and travel times and consequently delays to bus journeys and the emergency services are maximizing the very matters that low traffic networks were supposed to prevent. And again, this shows how much the mayor is out of touch. I spoke with people in Ealing a few days ago that were extremely frustrated with their LTNs, literally almost shouting their frustrations out. We did an entire episode and talk about the struggles of the people in Sutton and Merton and Richmond and Kingston. And so many boroughs are frustrated because LTNs aren't working. The mayor is completely out of touch. He's done them because I think it makes him look like he's green, but they're causing more damage. They need to be consulted with the stakeholders before they're applied, and they need to be monitored with real KPIs.